In this lesson, we'll explore the OptiRest toolpath. Now, the OptiRest toolpath is actually an OptiRough toolpath, but with certain settings turned on. So typically what I'll do is I'll take my OptiRough toolpath, and I'm just going to copy that down to my next operation down here. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I've already selected the part to machine, I already have my avoidance regions, and I have a lot of my settings already set up. And with the toolpath copied down below, I'm just going to make sure that I move my arrow down to the bottom. And let's go into this copied toolpath now. So as you can see, we're still in OptiRough, and it's called Dynamic OptiRough. The model geometry is still the same, but in this case, let's adjust this to 10,000ths. Same thing for the floor. And that's because we're going to remove the rest of the material, but we're still going to stay away from the walls and floors by a little bit, and we're going to save that for a finishing toolpath. Toolpath control will be the same, and we'll even stick with the same tool for now, so we're just going to call this OptiRest. Now up until now, everything else with the toolpath is the same until we go into the stock setting here. We're going to turn on rest material, which will change this toolpath into an OptiRest toolpath. And for the compute remaining stock from, I'm going to choose one other operation, and I'm going to choose this stock model that we just created. That's this one down here after the OptiRough. Under the cut parameters, we have the same settings as before, but you can change these as well. So for example, maybe the step up we'll do as 5%, and the step down we'll do at 100%. So we're not going to be hitting the exact same levels as before. And with these settings set up, let's click OK, and then we have to recompute the toolpath, because if you recall, we originally copied it and now we're editing that copied toolpath. And now that this toolpath is created, we'll take a look at it. So as you can see, we're still machining the walls, the vertical walls, but we have some more additional passes in the sloped area as well. So we could go back in and adjust some of these parameters a little bit. We're not going to do so now, but of course we could change some things like the transitions or finally adjust the steep and shallow areas. More importantly, we could work with the toolpath control and have it look at other options besides skipping the pockets or how you compensate to. At this point, let's take this and create yet another stock model using the stock model from OptiRough as our initial stock shape, and then we'll use this toolpath to compute our final. So let's go up to stock model. And again, we started with 1 and 4 was after OptiRough, so we're going to have this one called 5 after OptiRest. And the stock model we're going to use as the initial stock shape is 4. And then under the source operations, we're going to make sure that we choose OptiRest as that operation. And there's some other things you could adjust here if needed. For example, the tolerance of the path and the tool shape tolerance. If you do that, you'll notice that the computation time for your stock model will drastically change. A lot of times what users will do is they'll loosen this up to something a little larger. And that way they can save on computing time, and then once they're ready to really machine this part, they'll crank up their tolerance to make sure they have an actual good result. But for now, let's just take a look. Our stock definition is set up properly. Our source operations are all set up, and let's compute this as well. All right, so with the stock model created, you'll notice that the original one looks like that, and then the one with OptiRest looks a little better, especially up in this area here. Now, of course, we modified and adjusted the tolerances. So I'm going to go back and set that to what the previous ones were, and I'm going to edit out the calculation time just so we don't have to wait. But this is how you can speed up calculation times while you're programming, and then before you're ready to cut, you adjust those tolerances more to your liking. So to look at the existing to look at the previous stock model, we had 5 thou and 1 thou. So here, we're going to do the same thing. And we'll recompute that. And here's the result of that stock model. And like I mentioned, I edited out that recalculation time, but we can tell that the original stock model looks like that. And now the OptiRest looks much more dialed in, and you can see from the surfaces here that we have a much more accurate representation of that stock model. In the next lesson, we'll explore some of the finishing toolpath that we can use to machine some of these areas right here. And of course, once we're done, we'll create another stock model so we can really look at those results.